Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now, a huge question. Are you after a new GShock? Specifically, an all black, murdered out, super stealth GShock. Let me introduce you to the GBD-200. There are a few different colours of this, but I have to say that the all black version of this looks sick. So let's take a closer look. So here we have the GBD-200. Now, just look. Let's bring this back a second. The aesthetics of this watch are absolutely on point. There are a few different colorways. I believe there are two kind of black, so this is possibly the blackest of them all. There is another version that has this little accent here is green, or like a dark green. I think there's a red, a blue and a yellow one. I have got two of these. You've probably seen in previous pieces of content that I have had the yellow one on my wrist whilst I've been making content on whatever it is they've been talking about, and I love this watch that much that I had to buy a second one. I've owned the yellow one longer than I've actually owned this one. But to get into some details about the watch itself. So measurements wise, the face from lug to lug comes in at 49.4 millimeters. Across the width of the face, it comes in at 45.9 millimeters. And the depth of this is actually really nice. So it's not what I class as a bulky GShock watch. I think GShock watches have that kind of impression that it's something that's going to protrude quite a lot from your wrist. This comes in at 15 millimeters, which again, you know, comparing this to maybe some other GShock squares, you'll be able to see is roughly the same as some other watches. The big thing that screams out on this face is the memory in pixel display, or MIP display on here. I fell in love with the MIP display with this watch, which is the GBX-100. Is it the GBX-100? I always get it wrong. It is the GBX-100. So this was the first memory in pixel display Casio GShock that I'd owned, and it really has to be the future of the watches. I will keep talking about this all day, all night, till it's adopted across every single watch. But the memory in pixel display is absolutely amazing. Now, the way that I quantify that is just how easy this is to read. So this is classed as a negative display, which can often be difficult to read. So if I put this next to my Sunto Core here, just holding this up, moving this around so that you can see it in different angles, not necessarily different lights, but you can see the reflection on the trees, all of that sort of thing. Trying to get these so that they both roughly do it at the same angle. You'll be able to see that the memory and pixel display on this is so much clearer. That's not to say that the Sunto Core is a bad watch. It's a freaking incredible watch. However, this is just so much better. I think for this all black stealth, it's not referred to as the stealth edition, but I'm certainly going to refer to it as a stealth edition. It just complements the look and feel of this watch so much. As far as the size of the display, so where you can see you've got the writing here back. You've got, what actually does that say? It says reverse and forward. Where that is on there, do you know what? I've only just noticed that it says reverse and forward in there. I was actually looking for it to say mode, display and start and so on. Where you have that on there, so if I just move that so that it's in the light just right, you can see that the display is just on the inside. The rest of the watch is made from this resin material. I know some of the newer watches, they call it a bio resin. I don't believe that they've given it that name here, but it is your general material that you'll find that most of these G-Shocks are made from. They've moved away from using the term plastic because lots of people complain when you say the P word. So now the R word isn't as offensive, and yeah. No dolphins were harmed making this watch. But anyway, so It's resin all the way around. On the inside, it's part of their hollow core style watches, which again, it just adds to the security, or at least the functions of if this was dropped. Now, getting back, I suppose, to the GShock side of this, it has a lot of the features that GShocks are well known for. Shock resistance, as far as water resistance, you can take this down to 200 meters. So if you're concerned about swimming with this, you've just not got any issues whatsoever. It's not one of their mud resist ranges. There are quite a little bits of crevices and bits that dirt can get into. You just have to make sure that you keep it washed, or I certainly always wear mine when I'm taking a shower, and it keeps it nice and clean. The back on here, it is a stainless steel back plate. There's some information on here. So as far as the module is concerned, it is the 3506. You've got the GBD-200 stainless steel. I got this wrong quite funnily on a previous piece of content, and I said Taiwan, although it still clearly says Thailand. So yes, this is made in Thailand. And then you've got your water resistant to, I think we just got out of focus there, water resistant to 20 bars. Which is 200 meters. There is also an additional point on here as well. So there is a small Bluetooth logo on here. That is because this does have Bluetooth so that it can connect to the app. Now, although I'm not going to go through the app today, I don't particularly use the app, but the app is there so that you can set certain functions on here. I've certainly appreciated talking to you guys a little bit more about how that is useful to some people. I'll go through the setup process on here, but there are additional features on the app so that you can set it up, especially if you have difficulties being able to see some of the smaller digits on there. So you can use the app on here to set up certain functions. What you can also do is you can log activities. One of the functions here on the top right is if you go for a run, you can log that, and you can record that as an activity. But if you do take your watch, you take your phone along with you, then you can use the GPS inside your phone to be able to track how far you've run, your direction, the route, altitude decreases and increases, all of that sort of stuff. Now, getting back to the actual makeup of the watch, so yeah, resin all the way through. You do have these little accents here, so this is a different type of plastic. I'm guessing they're still going to call this a resin, but it feels more plasticky, although it's a little bit more rubbery than it is plasticky, because this does have a small amount of give to it. But this just acts as a bit of a collar here. So some of these G-Shocks on here, hopefully you'll notice that it just has that little collar that smooths it as it goes into your wrist, and this does exactly the same. If you have a particularly hairy wrist, you might find that you get a little bit of a pinch in there and it pulls out a few hairs, but I guess if you have a hairy wrist, you're used to that sort of thing anyway. But as I mentioned, so there is a different black version of this, where this is almost kind of green. You can see on the photo here. But the strap on this, I will definitely say this is Casio G-Shock doing straps as they have done historically. Fortunately, I've not liked some of the straps that they've made recently, but this is definitely one of the ones that I do prefer. It narrows down quite a bit. Let's compare it to this one. Does it go? It's probably maybe a millimeter less than that one, but on some of the other watches, it doesn't narrow down or taper down as much. On the front here, so the tang of the clasp, it is a plastic clasp. That may be a deal breaker for some of you, but yeah, it is a plastic clasp. But the tang on there is nice and wide, and you can see that you have these holes on here. There's plenty of options. I have a 7.5 inch wrist. Let's take this off for a second. I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and let's get you on. It still allows me to have plenty of strap left to be able to keep it into the keeper here. I will say the keeper is another great feature on here. The keeper does have one of those small little tooths in there that just sits perfectly into one of the holes. But yes, again, for 7.5-inch wrist, I'm glad that it has the extra length to be able to accommodate. If you have a larger wrist, I will definitely say that it is a good style watch for you. There's a bit of texture here across, so hopefully if you can see there's a difference between the light shining on this part and this part, because it just has a little checkered texture to it. And then on the inside as well, there is some texturing to this, which does a very good job of, one, helping airflow through it, but also it helps to get water out. The holes along the strap here also are replicated on the holes, or at least the side of the strap on this way, so that you get a similar look and feel all the way around the strap when it's on your wrist. Features wise, it's a fairly standard feature set when you go through the modes on here. So the button here on the bottom left through the modes. The first one is a workout timer, which it's great that it's on here. It does feel as though it's slightly out of place. The button here top right is for your activities. So for me, it would have made sense to have the fitness timer section up here in this, but you know, I'm certainly not complaining that it is here. Hopefully what you'll notice here at the bottom on all of these different modes, it will also keep your time on there, so that no matter what you're doing, you can still see what the current time is. So again, bottom left will then take you through to the stopwatch. So start, stop, and then you've also got a split lap function on here, and it will go down to milliseconds, where some of the other watches only just do seconds and minutes. Next up, we then have activities. So as I mentioned, this button here will record an activity. So if you've done some of those, you can go through your previous activities. You can check your times, distances, so on and so forth. For your distances, it does a reasonably good job, I will say, of tracking distance. If you're not using the GPS on here, you can put in your height, your weight, and some other information. So it goes off your cadence, it goes off what it kind of guesses will be your step, your gait, I guess. And it does a reasonably good job. So I've done quite a few runs with this. I haven't done it as much with this one. I've done it more with my yellow one. I can do a 5K, and it's probably about, maybe it can be difference between, say, 300 meters to 600 meters out, not using the GPS on my phone, which I'd say is reasonably good. Some of you might, oh, Jesus, 600 meters, that's a massive difference. But at the end of the day, if you're not your super Lance Armstrong, no, I need to know exactly what I'm doing, and you're just an everyday person that just likes to go out for a run and kind of see how you're doing, it's perfect for that. Next up are notifications. So because this will attach to your mobile phone via Bluetooth, if you have any notifications, you can come to here and you can check certain things. I don't use this function, but it's nice that it's on there. I just don't have the Bluetooth turned on, and I certainly don't use it. And then you get back to the main face. There are some other functions here in your top right hand corner. You can press this and it will give you more information as far as your steps. So it thinks today that I've done 465 steps, but you can also see on here on a daily basis from Sunday, Wednesday and Friday. I have been wearing this for a few days. As I mentioned, I've had this recently, whereas the yellow version of this that I've had for quite a bit longer. But you can then press this again and it will go through, it'll give you a monthly update. So you can see I'm on month 8 there, which is August. You can press it again. Now I mentioned this before on the GBX-100. This one does feel slightly out of place. So this is your sunset and sunrise. Again, as part of the settings, you can say where you are in the world and it will find your closest city, so that it will give you a sunset and sunrise. This seems like a mode that should just be in the normal mode functions, because on this section we're looking at our activity and the activities that we've been doing over the last few days. It just feels slightly out of place. If I'd forgotten that it was here, I'd be pressing this to try and find it within the normal modes. But again, you know, it's just something that I think wouldn't be difficult for Casio to be able to update and just move that around. Now, getting back to the function up here, I mentioned this a few times, so you can press this and it will go, right, okay, we're wanting to do some sort of activity. You don't have different activity setups, so whether you're going for a swim, whether you're going to the gym and exercising, whether you're doing aerobics, whether, no matter what, it's just an activity. That's really all that it's doing, and mainly it's kind of gauged that you're going to be out and doing a running activity, because you can see distance and pace on there. But if you wanted to, just to show that you've done an activity, that you've gone to the, you know, you can do that. And it's just a double press. Well, I say it's a double press. Your first press puts it onto this mode. Your second press will then start the activity. Press it again and it will stop it. And then you can press back to come out of there. You can see that it's just saying, please wait. And that's because it's now saving that information. If it was that I'd started this, what it'll do is, after the please wait, it'll then give you a bit of a summary of the actions that you've done, or a summary of whatever that activity was, distance, time, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Some of these functions you can press back and it will go back. So let's say I'm going through here and I'm on stopwatch and I think, oh, well, actually, let's do stopwatch. I'm on activity, I want to go back, it will take you back. It doesn't always work though. Again, I think this is just a strange thing with the interface on here. So let's say I'm looking at my months and I think, oh, that's really nice. I've seen how much I've done this month. Let's go back. It doesn't go back. It only seems that back works on some of the modes, and back works on some of the activities here. To get back to the original kind of watch face, I then have to press this again to go through sunrise and sunset, and then back to the watch face. It just seems a little disjointed. I think it just needs a slight little bit more finessing of how the user interface works on this, really, just to really make it perfect. Now, the last little bit is going through how you can do your display and your amends on here. So you hold down the top right button. You have to hold it down for a few seconds, and then you get into the internals in here. So home time, this is where you can start to put in you know, where you are. So in fact, wrong button. Let's get back to there. So you can go up and down with these, and then your button here will go into there. So you've got the cities. When you come into here, now I have mine set so that I'm in Europe, but there are over 300 different locations that you can use to be able to do this. And then you've also got your daylight savings. Sorry, I think we just got out of focus there for a second. You've also got your daylight savings so that you can decide whether you're adding or subtracting an hour. Your time adjust on here goes through all of your kind of the things you'd expect. If you have your Bluetooth turned on and you use the Bluetooth function on here, rather than having multi-band 6 on this, it will always just, I say always, it just checks your watch once a day, or checks your phone once a day to make sure that the time is up to date. I have mine set at manual because I don't use the Bluetooth function on here, but if you have that set automatic, it will just check that. Being an adult, I keep my watch on 24 hours, but there is a function if you did need to pass this to a child that you can turn it back to 12 hours. Then on, again, I just keep doing this in the wrong way. Your world times, you can check your world zones and so on and so forth. Here are your alarms. So it has 4 independent alarms that you can set through different times. Now, as far as setting those, they will go off. It is a daily alarm rather than you can go, right, okay, in 3 days time, I just want this one alarm. They are alarms that will continue through the day. And then on there as well, you also have your hourly time signal, which I really like about this. In your profile, this is where I mentioned on those extra bits so that it will check, you know, what your cadence, what your gait, what your height and so on will be. So you have your height and weight, sex, which just gives you the 2. How shocking that it would do that. Birth date, wrist, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. Again, you know, you've got your options on here. Beep is whether you want to have the beep. The light on there is far as, you know, whether you want to have the light on, or at least you'll see it's got the auto light. So if you turn your wrist, it will turn on and off. And then you've also got duration as well on there. And then vibration, so it does have the option to vibrate, which is nice. So if you wanted to turn this on, it's just a little haptic pulse. So for some of things like notifications, what you can do is you can come into here and then decide what notifications you want that pulse to be on. Generally, I don't have it for the notifications, but if you wanted it for alarms or hourly time signals, it's great that it's on there. The last few ones on here, pairing, if you wanted to connect this to your Bluetooth, you can set that for your pairing. You've also got your airplane mode, just in case. I know it's strange, but I guess if you wanted to. I don't think Bluetooth affects the airplane that much, but if you're flying with a company that wants you to turn it off, you can do. Find My Phone. I've not used this yet. I keep forgetting that it's on here, but it will play an alarm on your phone so that you can find this. Units is, as you'd expect, the options in here are whether you want to be metric or imperial, and then you've got some options to be able to reset back to factory settings on here. You can press back and it will take you all the way out, or you can keep your finger on there and it will bring you all the way out as well. I really like this watch. I can't recommend this watch enough. I know I keep picking up some of these other ones. So with the the GBX-100, it has this metal display, or this metal kind of bit on the front. It's a nice accent, but the murdered out look on this one looks really nice. I also have what I think is possibly the best bang for your buck as far as GShock squares are concerned. This is the 5610U, but it just takes it. Just moving these around, you can see it's so much easier to be able to read this. This one does have tough solar. Unfortunately, this one doesn't. The batteries on these last for roughly 2 years, and that depends again on whether you're using the Bluetooth function on here. The battery on this is, it should last forever, mainly because of the tough solar on this. If they can get tough solar into here, the tough solar really is between the red part, this red accent line here, and the main display. If they can get tough solar onto this watch, I will take the GBD-200 all day, every day. I just have to say it. I think this looks sick, as the kids say. It's just a very fine looking watch, and comparing it to some of the other ones that we've seen, first of all, the MIP display has to be the future of Casio. I've said this a trillion times and I will continue saying it a trillion times. It has to be the future of Casio. They need to get that tough solar in there. If they can get the tough solar in there so that they can increase the battery life of these, this is just gonna be epic, and I'm looking forward to seeing future iterations, and I hope they do future iterations of this one specifically, but especially once the MIP display starts to get into some of the I guess what you traditionally call the squares. Yeah, it should be awesome. But getting back to this one, as I've again, I own 2 of these because I like this watch that much, and hopefully today has proved why you should like this watch that much. So there you go. Now I will leave some links below so that you can see more from the GBD-200. Some of those may be affiliate links. It's the name of the game here on the social medias. So, but if you choose to use those, it'll help to fund my channel so that I can purchase and we can make more content like this. So yes, I'll leave some links below. I'll leave some of my social media links so that you can follow me here on Moorlander EDC and also on my sister channel, Moorlander Tactical. But for now, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Are you after a new GShock with a certain look and feel to it? I'm talking all black, murdered out, super stealth GBD-200. I had to think of it. I said that on slowly. It was meant to sound like I was doing it to add extra kind of gravitas to it. I forgot what it was. I forgot. GBD-200. It is a GBD-200. Oh, you idiot. Let's do that again. I feel like I'm going with a little bit of a... I'm going for a little bit of a curl today. Usually, but... It doesn't look good. Like a dick. Anyway, where was I? I feel like a massive bell end because I left my other watch at home. I wore it yesterday because this is day 2 of filming because it rained a lot yesterday. I wore it home yesterday, took it off because we went out to a party where Mrs. Morlander is still. She's not at the party, but she's probably hung over somewhere. Not somewhere, like a park bench. She's not that kind of irresponsible young lady. Where was I? Yeah, I left it home. What a tit. What a tit! What a tit! Just checking there's no one around me. Hear me scream, what a tit. Shall I put this out today? Today's Sunday. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you're all having a lovely day. Wasps. Wasn't even a wasp, it was a fly. I don't know why I said wasp. It doesn't self-identify as a wasp. It's a fly. Actually, it self-identifies as a little fucking fuck. Hear the pops. There's a gun range just over there. Anyway. Have a great day. See you in a bit. Bye.